Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're having a great day so far. So today we are going to be doing a foundation review because it's finally time for the UK to get their mitts on the new Estee Lauder foundation. So this is the Futurist Hydra Rescue Moisturising Makeup Foundation with SPF 45. All the other information that you need to know about this foundation will be on the screen for you for your viewing pleasure. Please feel free to pause the screen if you need and read through that. So I know this foundation has been out in the US for some weeks now, but that doesn't happen here. So this has now launched exclusively to John Lewis in the UK until some date in March. I believe they've got an exclusive on the UK rights to stock this for a few weeks. So I was able to get it off the website, get it in my paws so we could review it for you here today. So before I jump into the application process, a few of you have asked me the all-important tea on the shades. So I have to say how pleasant it was being a double wear owner, that I just knew what shade to pick up, because online foundation shade matching, although now I consider myself somewhat of an expert, it's just, I don't believe anybody finds it easy or enjoyable to pick a foundation shade based off some computer generated swatches. So knowing what shade I am in double wear, I thought, oh, what a treat. What an easy process this is going to be. So I just ordered my same shade in the Futurist that I wear in double wear, which is Tawny. As you can see, it is a pretty perfect match for my winter skin. I will show you, I've swatched on my arm there, the comparison swatch of the Futurist Hydra Rescue next door to the double wear. Now they look very similar, I feel like, on camera. In person, the Futurist Hydra Rescue, Christ, that's a flipping tongue twister, isn't it? The new one is a hair darker and a hair less warm, a hair more neutral, hair more on the olive side than the double wear, which suits me fine. I was a bit nervous when I swatched it because it looked a lot darker, but when they both dried down they were much closer, but still this one is definitely deeper than the double wear, and I was a little nervous, but it's turned out perfect. It's turned out absolutely fine. And as we know, spring is round the corner, so if it's a hair darker, that's fine by me. So as far as the scent goes, you'll be happy to hear that it does not have the same paint smell that double wear has, because I don't know about you, but I do not like that smell. The Futurist smells faintly of SPF is how I would describe it. I didn't notice it at all when applying it. Definitely no smell now. I really had to sniff my palette to see what it smelled like, and it is that sort of fresh SPF-y skincare-y type scent that we know. It is a very runny formula, as you can see, and I feel like you need to use a good amount. The pumps are small little drops of a very watery, liquidy consistency. So generally I would advise applying this with a brush because you're going to lose a lot of product with a sponge. However, for the purpose of experimentation today, I decided to do half my face using my Sigma F80 and half using my damp beauty blender. So the brush side, it's going on very, very nicely. It is very thin. I kind of expected it to start to get thicker and harder to blend as it went on, because that's kind of my experience of that type of consistency previously. Something like MAC Face and Body does, you know, as you're blending it, it gets thicker and more smeary. This didn't happen. It went on like water. It literally felt like nothing on the skin. It feels so hydrating on the skin, it really does. It blended in beautifully, an absolute treat. I did find that I had to use, I put 3 pumps, although they're small pumps, onto my palette, and I didn't think I was going to use them all on the brush side, but I pretty much did. I had to build up quite a lot to cover my rosacea. My rosacea is kind of having a moment right now just because of, you know, central heating, cold weather, windy weather here in the UK. Yeah, so I had to build up quite a lot over my rosacea to get it, you know, covered and even and everything looking nice and uniform. But yeah, I used 3 pumps on the brush side, no complaints, looking super smooth and very, very glowy. I'm not going to set my face on either side today because I want to see the foundation by itself and how it performs without any help from powder. So next I'm going in with the sponge side, and I was super surprised on this side, although it definitely did soak up a decent amount of the product. So I still used as many pumps on the sponge side as I did on the brush side, but I got the coverage way quicker and easier with the sponge, which is surprising because you generally expect it to be the other way around, especially with such a liquidy foundation. However, that's just the way things go, and this I definitely felt like it gave me a quicker, easier coverage and application with the sponge. Even though the brush side was not problematic, it was just quicker to build coverage and cover my rosacea on the sponge side. Both sides look super pretty. I love the finish of this. It's very glowy but so smooth, and it just looks very skin-like and natural, like luminous, healthy, youthful skin. That's how I just would describe it. It's just the prettiest finish ever. It doesn't look the absolute best of any foundation I've tried on my forehead. I wouldn't say it's exaggerating lines, but I definitely feel like both the ABH, the Shiseido, and possibly the Fenty are kinder to my forehead lines, slightly. It has slightly soaked into my deeper smile line. As far as other lines, like on my top lip, slightly the horizontal line I have across there. So I've now finished the rest of my makeup. I took a flash photo. I definitely feel like there is some bounce back happening here, but given there's SPF 45 in here, I was expecting to properly look like bleached out, like Casper the Ghost, like really whited out, and I don't feel like it's as dramatic as I thought. Yes, it probably looks like a little lighter and a little brighter, but I don't think it's terrible. However, I probably wouldn't risk this for like a night out or anywhere where there's going to be flash photography. I do feel like there is some bounce back, and bounce back seems to be subjective depending on how dark the room is, how big the flash is, etc. So I probably wouldn't personally risk this under flash photography situations if you care about Flashback Mary. So as I said, I did not set the foundation. Being a like glowy, luminous, dewy foundation, lots of people will want to set it down. For me, when I'm testing foundations, I don't like to set with powder because a lot of the time I don't set with powder during my daily life. I just don't like setting with powder very often. It's personal preference whether you want to or not, but I like to see in a foundation review how the foundation does by itself, because powder, believe it or not, is a choice, not a necessity for everybody, especially not if you are getting older. We don't love powder in our lines. So I'm going to see how it does without. So I just was slightly careful with my cheek products, you know, pushing them in before buffing. No problems, nothing moved, no issues whatsoever. It does still feel tacky, slightly tacky. It's not wet, it doesn't feel like it's, you know, you touch it and it's lifting off. It's certainly not, but yeah, there is still a tack to the finish. So if you don't like that, again, you'll want to set with powder. But yeah, everything is looking super beautiful. Everything went on really nicely on top. I've used only sort of matte cheek products, so I used a matte bronzer and a matte blush, and just added some highlight so that we can actually see what is the glow of the foundation, not what is bronzer and what is blush. We will be back in a minimum of 8 hours. I have a very busy, tough day ahead. It's half term here. My kids are both home with me, causing absolute havoc in the next room. We're going to be going out for the day. We're going to be going to soft play. We're going to be going to the Safari Park. It is hell as far as weather here at the moment. Very windy, very wet, pretty cold. So yeah, it's a pretty testing time for a foundation. So we're going to see what this foundation can do at the zoo. I just can't be stopped. See you in a few. This is all for free, you know. Okay, so we're back. The time is just gone 7:30, and that means that the foundation, I finished putting the foundation on nearly 9 hours ago now, and I have to say, checking it out in the mirror, I struggle to remember a foundation that has looked as similar at this point of wearing with no powder setting after 9 hours. I am super impressed. Let me tell you, this foundation has had a day. I've been out at the animal park all day outside. It's been fine drizzle raining all day and I've been in and outdoors for hours. I've been at soft play, kids pressing their faces on mine. It's been very, very windy. I've been inside with heating. I've been in the car with the blowers and the fans on. It has been through a journey. It doesn't feel tacky anymore. As you guys know, I didn't set with powder, so that would be a way to take away the tack and give it even better longevity. But honestly, this has weared phenomenally. There's not a huge amount to kind of draw your attention to. Obviously, like bronzer, blush, highlight, everything still looks super fresh. The only slight drawback I have had with this foundation is my forehead. You can see my lines on my forehead look exaggerated. I definitely have foundations that look better on my forehead than this one does, especially like in this sort of glowy category. I find the ABH, the Fenty and the Shiseido all look better on my forehead. However, like as lines wise, it's not really soaked into my finer smile line, and it's not got any worse on the deeper one. Chin, like it hasn't worn off on my chin. My nose doesn't look like barely shiny at all around the sides of my nose, which is amazing. So all in all, very impressed. So I know as always people are going to want to know where this sits as far as versus the Fenty, versus the Shiseido, versus the ABH. So like I've told you guys, I think all three of those look better on my forehead as far as these little lines. I think this one wears better unset than the ABH and the Fenty, because I think those two tend to get like just a hair too shiny if I don't set them at this 9 hour mark. It's definitely up there as far as the finish and how it looks and all of the above. Those three that are kind of in the same ballpark of this one as far as finish and coverage, the Shiseido, ABH and Fenty, none of them have the flashback issue that this one does because they don't have the SPF. And this one feels more hydrating, I think, than those three. So there's definitely kind of pros and cons depending on your priorities. That's kind of how I think of this. It's certainly up there with those. I will certainly continue to use this, and I will give you a more cohesive, comprehensive thoughts on this foundation and whether I'm, you know, favouring it along with those other ones that I love, my top drawer favourites, in my February faves and fails. I really enjoy this. I think it's worn incredibly well. It looks beautiful on the skin. I'm definitely going to try it out set. That may help my forehead situation. So yeah, I really, really like this one. I think it's beautiful, and I definitely think it's in with a shot of holy grail status. I'd love to know if you guys have tried this one, how you got on with it, what you found. By the way, it didn't change shade, as you can see throughout the day. There's not been any kind of oxidization. I know some people have said that they have experienced that, but I didn't. So maybe that's because I didn't set with powder. Sometimes actually the powder that is darkening as opposed to the foundation. So that's an interesting one. I'd love to know if you've experienced that with this one. I didn't, but everybody's different. I hope you found this review helpful, and I would love to see you in the next video. Otherwise, take care for now. Bye 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 bye.